In 2021, my life has gone into a complete spiral. I think most of you can relate to that. COVID affected both me and my profession very deeply. My primary education is being a classical pianist, so I had no real job on my hands except some teaching. I had quite a bit of responsibility and a little bit of savings left. And then I made one of the most reckless decisions I've ever made in my entire life, and I bought myself a watch, spending the majority of my savings on it. And funny enough, I think I made one of the most meaningful purchases of my life. We were passing a watch boutique with my mum, and I noticed a new Longines release. I say new, it was around for quite a while at this point. Legends Diver, PVD coated, black dial with yellow accents and yellow hour markers. It was an absolute love at first sight. We walked into the shop with the intention of just taking a look at it, and about 15 minutes later, I walked out with that watch on my wrist. Felt reckless, a bit bold, perhaps quite stupid really, but it also felt right. Longines became pretty much a family heirloom. My grandmother had one, my mother had one, and now, well, I had one too. Now, there's a very important point that often is made by any watch content creator. Watches are unnecessary luxuries, and you should never spend money on a watch if there's something that you need to essentially spend it on, or you rather should spend it on. And that's a perfectly fair and an absolutely valid point. However, I would like to present this story, my story, this story, from a little bit of a different angle. A purchase of this watch turned out to be a promise of a life that will be turned around, that losing a profession that I studied for 20 years was not the end of the world, and I kept telling myself that sooner or later Gandalf is going to arrive with the first light on the 5th day with reinforcements. Despite spending most of our money that we had at the time on a watch, it felt like a promise of a better life. And 5 years later, life did turn around. I'm finding my footing. I'm finding stability in my job position. I'm trying out new things all the time. Essentially, I'm doing exactly what I thought and should to be done. I'm trying to live my life to the fullest. And I think I'm heavily tying this story to the one I was telling in the I'm Burnt Out on Collecting Watches video that I just made earlier. If you haven't watched it, I invite you to do so, but in order to convey a general message of it, then it is, we don't tell enough stories with our watches, we follow the trends and we follow the product. That's a very simplified summary, but it's quite necessary for our context right now. Purchasing my Legend Diver became such an important part of my life in the next 5 years that I started building my watch collection. It didn't happen because of the product that I bought, even though this definitely had an influence. It happened because this purchase made me believe that pushing forward towards this life that I dreamt of was achievable. It was something that a person could and should try to aspire and look up to. It became a reason to actually begin collecting, as every watch started to represent that story, that journey, this whole narrative. The collection was slowly building up as I was progressing forward. And even though I already had a couple of watches, it wasn't a collection, they were just objects. These watches were objects I liked to play with. Maybe only outside of my father's watch that I got after his death. This one is very precious, sentimental value. I think all of the collectors can relate to that. No, but it was Longines that seriously gave us the kick and almost forced me to start thinking about horology, about collecting watches as a representation of my life, my journey. Quite frankly, about me. I'm in no way, shape or form calling you to purchase watches on your last bits of savings. You absolutely shouldn't do that if you are in a desperate position. Please do not. However, I would be lying to you through my gritted teeth if I'm not looking at my watch right now as my inseparable companion, as my most cherished watch that I have in connection. This watch helped me to keep going at certain moments, and now looking back at that 5-year journey, it transformed into an object of one of the most personal stories that I can ever tell, that I'm sharing right now with you. And quite logically enough, now I'm a faithful Longines customer, which reminds me that I actually need to get the new Conquest because I absolutely love that watch. And I think I would like to try and focus this channel exactly on this. I would like to help and talk about those things that you can purchase for yourself and turn those things into stories. Stay tuned for more. Thank you for your attention. Cheers.